Isabel Oakeshott, who actually is over in the action, I'm afraid. Isabel, are you okay?
All well here. I was saying to JK earlier that I think it's fair to say that there's a bit of nervousness here in the UAE. The airspace is currently closed, as I understand, as with much of the rest of the region, as everybody waits to see if Iran is going to follow up that rather kind of symbolic attempted strike with strikes on other air bases or US bases in the region. I mean, the biggest one is in Bahrain. A lot of nervousness there, but Iran signaled that it was going to do this to the base in Qatar, and that does suggest that this is sort of a bit of a face-saving exercise. That's very much the hope, that this is a symbolic thing they can show to their domestic audience that they have hit back, and then hopefully everybody simmers down a bit. But there may yet be some more of that symbolic action to come, and hopefully it's calculated to be non-lethal. But it just does feel, I'm not going to lie, a little bit edgy.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the escalation that, I mean, you know, throughout the weekend, as of Friday, you know, but it got worse and worse over the weekend. We had a palpable escalation unfolding before our very eyes. You know, Friday's action. Then Saturday we learned that indeed Donald Trump had gone in, had joined Israel in its attacks on Iran, on their nuclear facilities. Huge escalation. Today, you know, just less than an hour ago, this attack on the Al Udeid base in Qatar, America's largest base in the Middle East. 6 missiles launched. Another escalation. Serious escalation. We await to see how Donald Trump will react, whether or not he can rise above these attacks by Iran on US bases remains to be seen. But the point is, escalate, escalate. We're seeing this. And what have we got? We've got a Prime Minister who keeps saying, oh, we're hoping for a de-escalation. We want Iran to come to the negotiation tables. Last week at the G7, when he was pressed on Donald Trump's pretty bellicose rhetoric about what was going to happen in the Middle East, him sort of indicating then you never know what might happen. I might go in with Israel. You don't know yet. Quitting that G7, going back to Washington, telling them that he had much more important business to attend to than their silly statement calling for peace. So he didn't sign that, walked out on the summit. Donald Trump went into, or rather Keir Starmer, when interviewed on all that afterwards, said, well, it looks as if Donald Trump may well join his... Oh, I wouldn't read into... I wouldn't interpret what he said as that. I wouldn't necessarily say that's going to happen. He clearly did not have the faintest idea, and to this moment, he does not have the faintest idea, nor does his increasingly ridiculous Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. So the two of them have been excluded from the circle of intelligence. Neither Trump nor Netanyahu will tell Britain a thing anymore because it doesn't trust Britain, because we have made, or rather our government, our Labour government, has made its anti-Israel sentiments plain. So neither Netanyahu nor Trump are telling Starmer or Lammy or the British government anything, which I think is embarrassing and humiliating. And if you just bear with us, this is David Lammy this morning on the BBC Today programme, you know, their flagship news programme on Radio 4. So here he is being interviewed on this very topic.
I'm surprised, though, that the British government doesn't have a view on whether this enormously important military action was or was not legal.
We weren't involved, is the truth.
But I mean, there are all sorts. Hang on a second. We were not involved in Russia attacking Ukraine, but we have a very firm view of whether it was legal or not. What is our view of the legality?
Justin, there isn't moral equivalence here.
No, I'm not suggesting there is, but we do make judgments about whether actions are legal or not.
If I may, can I finish the point? Vladimir Putin invaded a sovereign nation. It was crystal clear. It is for the Americans, and you can get the ambassador online and you can discuss with him Article 2 and Article 51 of the UN Charter, and you can get into that issue. But what I can tell you is that the UK was not involved in this military action.
I mean, just ridiculous. You know, this is a really important point in history. We may be on the brink of World War III, and we have a government, a Prime Minister and a Foreign Secretary who won't tell us where Britain stands on this. Whose damn side are we on? They owe that to us. This is getting ludicrous. Here's Lammy on ITV's Good Morning Britain this morning.
It was reported that you had spoken to your counterpart in Iran and expressed regret over the US strikes. Now, I think it was pretty clear a week ago that Donald Trump was rather taken aback to find out about the Israeli strikes, and he may have been expressing regret. Wasn't it kind of appropriate for you to regret the fact that we've ended up in military conflict with your Iranian counterpart?
Well, I think that the Foreign Office has issued a statement following my call with the Iranians, and I think their take on the conversation doesn't accord at all with what I said. The truth is, the call with them yesterday was about urging them to not escalate, to hit US bases.
So, Isabel, just to summarise then, in the past hour or so, 10 missiles have been launched towards US military bases in Qatar and Iraq. We're expecting a similar attack on a US airbase in Syria imminently. Meanwhile, America joined Israel in attacking Iran over the weekend, targeting its nuclear facilities. An extraordinary development, a profound development. And Israel and Iran continue, meanwhile, to pound each other night after deadly night with hundreds of missiles. And we have a Prime Minister and a Foreign Secretary who don't seem to be able to tell us what side they're on, don't even seem to know whether or not America's attack was legal as far as they were concerned. And by the way, one last point, Britain was quite clearly cut out of all the information, all the action before this attack, because America went out of its way not to use Cyprus, the British airbase, or Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands, which is still nominally ours. So they didn't want anything to do with us. Instead, they flew these B-2 bombers all the way from America. It's like a sort of 36-hour flight or something. And they even sent a couple out the wrong way, out across the Pacific Ocean, in order to deflect from the truth of what was going on. Neither Starmer nor Lammy had a damn clue about what was going on. And that is really worrying. We're just like some minor state looking on from the wings about something we know nothing. That's humiliating, embarrassing. How did we end up like this?
I think it was very difficult for those ministers doing the morning media rounds this morning. I mean, I saw another clip of a defence minister absolutely sweating as he tried to repeat the same kind of completely banal lines about de-escalation, whilst under pressure to say, whose side are we on? I mean, it oughtn't to be a difficult question. We're on the side of the people that are against terrorism. And that at this point is the Americans and the Israelis. But that was too much for anyone from the government to say on the airwaves today. And I think Keir Starmer, I mean, he must be absolutely cringing inwardly as that clip of him saying, you know, don't read too much into any of this. I don't think anything's imminent, has been replayed all day today. The point you made about Diego Garcia is a really important one. I mean, who could have imagined that so quickly the consequences of that catastrophic deal, that so-called deal, but really a total betrayal of Britain and the British people, would be felt so quickly? Because now I think we have to give warning to the Mauritians if Diego Garcia is going to be used in that way. And guess what they're going to do? Pick up the phone and warn their allies, the Chinese. So what an unholy mess from this government. we look bit part players at best. And I think tomorrow's morning media round, when government ministers are sent out to explain what's going on all manner of TV channels, and including our own sometimes, it's going to be yet another cringe-worthy watch.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, Starmer and Lammy, pathetically, you know, kind of almost tragically, are trying to act like they know. Oh, yes, we were told first. Yeah, oh, we're right in the middle of all this. Oh, yeah, we're Britain, you know. It is palpable, it's obvious. They're not being told anything. They don't know anything because they're not trusted, because of their anti-Israel sentiments. But they're pretending that they know stuff. And frankly, making damn fools of themselves along the way. I mean, the G7 moment, I wouldn't read anything into that. Well, clearly we should have read something into that. And Lammy, you know, he kept being asked about the legality, because, of course, our anti-British Attorney General ruled last week that if we got involved in this Middle Eastern war, if we helped Israel attack Iran, it may well be illegal. As I tweeted at the time, don't worry about that. Richard Harmer would have said exactly the same thing in 1939. He would always advise against the legality of any kind of war. Now, guess what the MOD and the government are doing now in response to news that Richard Harmer ruled British involvement illegally? They've launched a massive hunt for the mole who leaked that information. It's like, Keir, I think you'll find the horse has bolted. No point in locking that gate anymore. It's tragic. It's pathetic, isn't it?
Well, that's politics for you. You know, instead of addressing the substance of the matter, let's go and see if we can shoot the messenger, shall we? It's so disappointing and dispiriting to have this kind of sitting on the fence attitude from the government in what, as you say, is such an important moment. You know, this is a whole shifting of power potentially in the Middle East away from the most malign country that there is, the most malign regime. And it oughtn't to be too hard to say that that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll go to break now, but I just want to repeat this, and I'll ask the audience what they think. I think this is an absolute disgrace. You know, we are on the brink of world war. And we have a government, we have a Prime Minister and a Foreign Secretary and a Cabinet that won't tell us whose side they're on. They won't tell us whether or not they support what America did on Saturday when the Midnight Hammer raid, when it joined Israel with those incredible strikes on 3 nuclear sites. We have a right to know where our government stands on this. And the fact they're not telling us and prevaricating and avoiding questions, I think is a massive scandal. It really is. This is the straw that's breaking the camel's back of the nation's patience, I do believe.